I used to think the silence was sudden, like one day the phone just stopped ringing. But the truth is, it didn't happen all at once. It crept in slowly, quietly, the way dust settles when no one's looking. My name is Robert, and I'm 74 years old. I've been a father most of my life, but only recently did I finally understand why my children stopped calling. For a long time, I told myself a simple story. I said they were busy. I said the world had changed. I said young people don't call the way they used to. Those explanations were easy to live with. They let me keep my pride intact and my conscience mostly quiet. But they were only half-truths, and half-truths have a way of unraveling when the house gets quiet enough. When my kids were young, I was always tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from age, but the kind that comes from chasing something you're afraid to lose. I worked long hours, and when I came home, my mind stayed at work. I told myself I was doing it for them. I believed that deeply. I wanted them to have security, opportunity, a life that felt easier than mine did growing up. They would sit at the kitchen table doing homework while I scanned papers or watched the news. Sometimes they'd try to tell me about their day, and I'd nod without really hearing the ending. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't absent in the obvious ways. I was there every night. I paid for things. I fixed what was broken. I just wasn't fully present. And at the time, that felt like a small thing. As they got older, conversations became shorter. I noticed it, but I didn't question it. Teenagers pull away, I thought. That's normal. When they brought problems to me, I tried to solve them instead of listening. When they shared feelings I didn't understand, I brushed them aside without meaning to. I told myself I was teaching them strength. What I was really teaching them was that certain parts of themselves were inconvenient. They moved out one by one. I helped carry boxes. I gave advice. I shook hands with boyfriends and girlfriends and tried to sound interested. Phone calls came at first, then less often. Holidays filled the space for a while, but even those grew quieter, more polite. Like everyone was following a script we'd memorized but no longer believed in. After my wife passed, the silence became louder. I expected, without ever saying it out loud, that the phone would ring more. I thought grief might pull us closer. Instead, weeks would go by without a word. When I did hear from them, the conversations felt careful, like we were all afraid of stepping on something fragile. At first, I felt hurt. I felt forgotten. I replayed my sacrifices in my mind, the years of work, the things I gave up. I asked myself how children could abandon a father who'd done so much. That question kept me warm for a while. It gave me someone to blame. But late nights have a way of stripping those stories down. Sitting alone in the living room, surrounded by photographs of moments I half remember, I started to notice a pattern. In every picture, I was there, but I wasn't really there. I was standing slightly apart, arms crossed, smiling politely. I looked responsible. I looked distant. The realization didn't arrive as a dramatic moment. It came as a slow ache. I understood that my children didn't stop calling because they didn't care. They stopped calling because, somewhere along the way, they learned that calling didn't lead to connection. It led to advice, correction, silence, or distraction. I had been consistent, just not in the way I thought. I was consistently unavailable emotionally, even when I was physically present. I taught them, gently but firmly, that their inner lives were something to manage on their own. That was a hard thing to admit at my age, harder than any long workday I'd ever endured. Because it meant accepting that love, when it isn't expressed in a way that can be felt, can still leave people lonely. I don't tell this story to punish myself. At 74, punishment doesn't fix much. I tell it because understanding came too late, but not entirely too late. When I finally stopped waiting for the phone to ring and started asking myself what kind of father I had actually been, not the one I intended to be, something softened in me. I wrote my children letters, not to explain myself, not to defend my past, but to acknowledge it. I told them I was sorry for the times I listened with half an ear. I told them I realized now that being dependable is not the same as being emotionally safe. I didn't ask for forgiveness. I just told the truth. Some responded, some didn't. That's something I've had to accept without resentment. Repair doesn't always look the way we hope it will. If you're listening to this and you still have time, more time than I do, I want you to hear this gently. The moments that matter most rarely announce themselves. They look ordinary. They sound like small voices trying to tell you about their day. And one day, those voices grow quiet, not out of anger, but out of habit. I thought being a good father meant providing, fixing, standing strong. I see now that it also meant sitting still, staying curious, and letting my children feel seen without being corrected. At 74, I finally understand why my children stopped calling. And understanding doesn't erase the silence, but it does teach me how to live inside it with a little more honesty. If this story feels familiar, I hope it doesn't fill you with fear, but with attention. Sometimes that's all it takes to change the ending.